scaled wings, a saint with a vacant expression lifted into a sky that does not look heavenly at all. It is said that art is the truest form of expression. Yet how dark can an art expression be for the world to doubt it was made by a child? This terrifying work of art is called the Torment of Saint Anthony. They pull at his robes. They tear at his skin. Their mouths are open, and you get the feeling they are screaming something ancient. The man does not fight back. He only endures. To understand why a 12-year-old painted demons, we have to first understand who that 12-year-old was. You know this boy. The whole world knows this boy. His name was Michelangelo, and the Torment of Saint Anthony was one of the first things he ever made. He was born in 1475 in a small hilltop village called Caprese, to a family of faded nobility, a family that had once held status and wealth, and had slowly, painfully lost both. His father, Lodovico, was a proud man made brittle by decline. He wanted his son to follow a respectable path, banking, law, something with dignity. But Michelangelo couldn't stop drawing. He drew on walls, on scraps of parchment, on anything that would hold a mark. His father beat him for it, reportedly. He considered art beneath the family name. And still, the boy drew. When Michelangelo was 6 years old, his mother died. We don't know how much this shaped him. We never fully know those things. That darkness had to come from somewhere. By 12, his father had reluctantly accepted the truth. This boy was going to be an artist. And so, Lodovico brought his son to the most celebrated painter's workshop in all of Florence, the studio of Domenico Ghirlandaio. Ghirlandaio was a master, technically flawless, commercially successful. His workshop was the finest machine for producing art in the city. Apprentices arrived, learned their craft, absorbed the method, and eventually became competent painters. Michelangelo lasted 1 year, not because he failed, but because he had already learned everything the workshop had to offer. He was restless, impatient, already different. He studied not his master's style, but the old masters, Giotto, Masaccio, Donatello, as if he was reaching past the present, trying to grab hold of something deeper and older. And it was in this studio, during this single restless year, that he made the Torment of Saint Anthony, the terrifying painting. Let's look at it. At first glance, it seems almost medieval, flat, symbolic, the kind of image you'd expect in an illuminated manuscript or carved into the stone of a cathedral doorway. But lean closer, and something else begins to emerge. At the center of the composition, levitating in midair, halfway between heaven and a jagged rocky outcrop, is Saint Anthony, an old man, robed, his staff still in his hand, his face turned slightly upward, eyes wide. But here is what Michelangelo changed from his source material, and it is not a small thing. He made Anthony look defiant, not broken, not even afraid. His expression carries something the original engraving never had, a kind of dignity under siege, as if the saint has already decided that he will not become what these creatures want him to become. And the creatures, there are many of them. They swarm from all directions, filling the frame like a fever dream, and if you study them carefully, you begin to realize that no two are the same. One is covered in fish scales, and here is where the 12-year-old Michelangelo does something extraordinary. According to his earliest biographers, he wasn't satisfied with his imagination alone. He went to the fish market. He stood among the stalls at dawn, the smell of brine and blood in the air, and he drew the scales off actual fish. He studied them. He transferred them faithfully onto the body of a monster, because he needed the monster to feel real. A 12-year-old boy going to a fish market to make his demons more convincing. Let that sit with you. Other creatures in the painting carry the wings of bats and the faces of gargoyles. Some have claws where hands should be. One grips a wooden club, raised to strike. Their mouths are caught mid-shriek, mid-snarl. They have personalities, specific individual malevolences, rather than the generic evil that populated most art of the period. Beneath it all, Michelangelo added something that wasn't in the engraving he was copying, a landscape. rocky, jagged, Italian. Art historians believe it closely resembles the Arno River Valley around Florence, the valley the boy walked through every day, now transformed into the floor of a supernatural battle. He made the hellscape look like home. Here is where the story takes a darker turn. Not the darkness of demons, but the quiet, slow darkness of being forgotten. For centuries, this painting existed. It passed through collections. It appeared in auction catalogs. It was handled, assessed, and admired. And throughout it all, no one knew, or no one chose to say, whose hands had made it. By the early 20th century, it had fallen into obscurity, sitting in a private collection in England. When it came up for auction at Sotheby's London in July of 2008, it was attributed simply to the workshop of Domenico Ghirlandaio, anonymous, generic, the kind of attribution that means probably someone in the orbit of a master, but not the master himself, not worthy of close examination. The painting was hidden in plain sight until an American art dealer named Adam Williams bought it. He paid $2 million. He took the painting to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, and there, a conservator named Michael Gallagher began to clean it. Centuries of yellowed varnish, layers of clumsy, discolored overpaint applied by hands who perhaps thought they were helping and were only obscuring. One by one, these layers came away, and beneath them, the painting emerged. The quality was immediately shocking. The color palette, once visible, was unlike anything the Ghirlandaio workshop typically produced. The depth, the sculptural modeling of the saint's face, the sheer assurance of the brushwork for something supposedly made by an anonymous apprentice. Keith Christiansen, the Met's curator of European paintings, looked at it and said he had never seen it before in his life, and that the cross-hatching, the emphatic, deeply individual cross-hatching in the rocky surfaces, could only have been made by one person. Under infrared reflectography, the underdrawing was exposed, and it confirmed what the experts were beginning to suspect. This wasn't the work of a copyist. This was an original mind at work. There were pentimenti, changes made mid-painting, mid-thought, as the artist revised his own decisions. Copyists don't do that. Only creators do. The verdict came. This was Michelangelo, the first painting we know he ever made. In 2009, the Kimball Art Museum in Fort Worth, Texas, acquired the work for a sum believed to exceed $6 million. Today it hangs there, the only Michelangelo painting on public display in all of North or South America. The work of a 12-year-old boy waited 5 centuries to be found, the question that haunts. So we return to the question. What made a 12-year-old boy choose this? Not a Madonna and Child, not a landscape, not a portrait of a merchant or a saint standing serenely in a field of light. He chose torment. He chose a body surrounded by monsters, suspended between earth and sky, with no rescue in sight. Some art historians have pointed to the practical answer. The engraving existed, it was famous, it was a good exercise, a copy project, something to learn from. But Michelangelo didn't copy it. He transformed it. He went to the fish market. He changed the saint's expression. He invented a landscape. He made the demons more specific, more individual, more real. This was not the work of a student executing an assignment. This was someone pouring something into an image. There is another detail that has always stayed with me. In Schongauer's original engraving, the source material, Saint Anthony's face registers anguish. He is suffering. He looks like a man being destroyed. Michelangelo changed it. In his version, Anthony's gaze is different, more composed, more interior, as if the saint has descended into some private place beneath the noise of the assault, some quiet center that the demons cannot reach. A 12-year-old who had recently lost his mother, whose father did not understand him, who was told by the world that what he loved was beneath his station, painted a man being torn apart by darkness, and gave him an expression of quiet endurance. Perhaps the painting is not really about St. Anthony at all. Perhaps it never was. If you ever stand in front of it, you will notice something. The painting is barely bigger than a sheet of paper. And yet the monsters fill every inch of available space. There is no place in the frame that is safe. No corner without a claw, without a gaping mouth, without something clawing upward. And in the center of it all, a single figure holding on.